Hello, and welcome to Always with Awareness. My name is Awa Lodmel.
And I'm Douglas Lodmel. And today we want to talk about childhood trauma and how to heal from it without making it wrong. And I know that's a little complicated, so we're going to unpack that. But let me start with saying we were listening to a podcast the other day, and it was a very good one. And they were talking about childhood trauma and how the guest who had written a book on it and who was a therapist was going through her experience of a very traumatic childhood with a very long divorce where she had to, accommodate the mother and the father and all the things that, those kind of things.
Painful things.
All the painful things. And then she was talking about patients that she had. Many have had, sexual abuse and physical abuse and really tough stuff.
Yes.
Like all of these things that no one would want for themselves or their children or anybody that they knew. I mean, all this stuff is very, very, very tough. Mm-hmm. But the way they were talking about it, you were saying something about it is not quite right. And it actually took us a minute to figure out what, because I was saying, well, that's how we heal. That's how you have to heal. Yeah. You have to go back down there. You have to relive it to a degree. You have to do things. But you had a comment about how the energy of the conversation was going that really led us to a whole new direction that I thought really was very important. So why don't you share what you heard in that podcast and how it hit you?
Yeah. Well, trauma, which we all have lived. The scale can go from a slap in the face to, the worst I think could be abuse.
Yeah, sexual
right?
abuse.
Sexual abuse.
Yeah.
And it's something very hard to talk about when on top of it you are not skilled or a doctor or therapist, but we're going to try. And what I heard her sharing was very genuine, very tough life. But this is what I felt myself, because I was like, when was the time where I dealt with my own trauma? Mm-hmm. Because we all have it. Let's agree, we all do have it, right? Humans are perfect.
Perfectly uniform, in that we all get our traumas.
Exactly. And instead of choosing to say we are imperfect, trying to be perfect, I'm saying we are perfect as that we know every one of us will have to go deal with something in our lives. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, the spectrum is wide open. You're lucky if you're dealing with little stuff. But at the end of the day, the way we deal with it is the same.
Okay.
Kind of, right? What I mean by that is when you're going through your pain, whatever that pain is, you feel that's the highest of the pain, and there's no pain higher than that.
For you at that moment, right?
For you at that moment.
So if it's a child who got beaten by their mother or abused by their father or whatever it is, for them that's the highest pain because that's the highest pain they've experienced.
Right? So
in that sense, it's
that's
kind
why,
of an equalizer.
Exactly. That's why we cannot compare pains and say this one is higher or this one I should prioritize. Pain is pain. If somebody's leg is being chopped right in front of you and they're screaming, you can't say, well, you know what, I have worse. I am dealing with mental illness or cancer. For them, that acute pain is right there and then their pain.
Yeah.
So we agree. But when I was listening to her, I was just going through my own journey. And I remember, like I said, when I had to look at my own life and all traumas that kind of hold you back, because trauma does one thing, is make you question yourself. Mm-hmm. Any pain is geared kind of for that. Pain is good. If there was no pain, I don't know what human being would have done. We would have mutilated ourselves. Mm-hmm. right? I mean, we would just cut our arm just to feel how it feels to just walk with one leg. I mean, you know what I mean? Because that's how we are. But thank God, because of pain, we can stop and try to change something. So I don't know when it happened for me, but it did happen where I had to look at myself and say, what is the trauma in my life that is just making me want to take a different direction than the one before? One thing that helped me is that I didn't make it wrong.
The pain.
The pain and the trauma. I didn't make it wrong. For some reason, I can't tell you why, but for me, it wasn't the wrong thing. It was just something that happened.
Can you give an example of something that you had to deal with specifically in your childhood?
It could be, let's say, you did something and you get slapped on your face. You know,
so a slap by your parents.
A slap by your parents, or or by your siblings, right? Okay, like I remember sharing this before. It's like all these childhood things that make you fear. Fear a human is that when you're little, you're in this little body, you're looking at somebody up there and they scream and they yell or they slap you. You go like, oh my God, you cannot express yourself, brings frustration, bring energy that is stuck in the body. You keep doing that in your life. At some point, you have to stop and look at yourself. But when you make it a wrong thing, it's hard to label something as wrong and then to want to go back and forgive it or go beyond it.
Yeah, that's a very true statement. And even the Course in Miracles says, if you make something wrong, you can't then forgive it and yet keep it wrong.
And keep it
You're
wrong.
not forgiving anything. You're just saying it's okay. I'll deal with it, but you're not actually forgiving it. So what you're saying is that when we look at our own childhood trauma, let's say it was abusive parent of some sort, and abusive parent in our minds, right? The abusive.
Yeah.
I'm sure my kids think I'm an abusive parent sometimes.
For sure, they think I am.
For sure, they think you are, right? So abuse but let's just say, an abusive parent, and so you're growing up with this trauma, and you have to deal with it. And now you're a young adult, you're 20-something, and you're starting to reconcile with it.
Yes.
If you say, well, what they did to me was just wrong, and now I have to adjust my life around it, and everybody's telling you got to forgive them. That's the key to healing, because that is the mantra, right? Forgiveness is the key. And they're saying, well, it was just wrong. It was wrong. So there's really no forgiveness for it, but I'm going to try. And so they're stuck. And that's what we heard in that podcast. There was an acknowledgement, but there was also still it was wrong.
It was wrong.
It was wrong. There was no making it right. It was just wrong.
And again, we want to live a life that all the cards are dealt with already. That's how I see it. Like I said, I always say, what's the worst that can happen? These human beings, since the beginning of time, are dealing with the same weaknesses, the same fears, the same illness. We keep on labeling it differently, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
If you look at it. This is not the era where the most abuse happened between parent and kids, right? We've been dealing with this. We've been dealing with, not too long ago, our sexuality was free, do whatever you want, and sleep with whoever you want. So when you look at it like that, of course, it's hard to have somebody that is your parent, that you love so much, respect so much, and to know they're dealing with something so hard that they are stuck into a body or a sexuality, because we are accepting it if it's, in our mind, something you're not choosing, like a cancer. You're not choosing it, so okay. If you are moody, it's okay. But really, it is a sickness. as that to be a predator or somebody who can't control their instinct,
Their anger, their desire, their impulses, whatever it is.
Exactly. And this is something very important because the show we did about mothers and kids, we have millions of you that love that part of the show, and yet we have hundreds of you that really get triggered and say, my mom is wrong, I'm dealing with this, not all moms are like that.
Yeah.
Right? And what we tend to do is that we take over somebody else's work. Your mom is wrong, it's your mom's work. Mm-hmm. Your mom has anger, it's your mom's anger issue she needs to deal with. Your part is your part.
So when you say we take over their work, you're saying that by making them wrong, you now are having to do that work inside of yourself that they didn't do.
Absolutely. And now you're making it about more you than even seeing them as needing you to support them.
Right, or having needed support, or having been ill,
Exactly.
having been sick, having been twisted, or even insane. Right?
Insane. A total mental illness.
Right.
I mean, a lot of us deal with mental issues.
Right.
You don't know it until you start having kids and you have to deal with the postpartum depression, let's say. Mm-hmm. And here you are having to choose between keeping your child or giving it away, but you are ashamed to say it. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people that live mental illness as shame. Next thing you know, you think your mom didn't love you. You think your mom wasn't up to the ready to have kids, but maybe she can't even share that, and ashamed that she ever even have a thought of taking her life away or taking yours away.
Yeah.
You know, and it's time we talk about this, but if you're making it already wrong, now you are separate and not giving your parent, your child, your mother, room to heal and for you both to heal together. So in that podcast, there was no joint healing. There was one person healing going on. But I don't think it's possible to heal alone.
Well, so this point is a really critical point. I mean, this is kind of the crux of, almost everything. And so we're, because it's one of the hardest possible points to feel that is true, that nothing is wrong, right? It's very hard to tell somebody who was raised by a parent who was abusing them that wasn't wrong. They know in their heart that was wrong. That was just wrong. No child should ever live that.
That's right.
No child, right? So they know it's wrong. But the key to their healing is actually what you're saying, to not make it wrong, to actually accept that it just is, not put the moral judgment on it, even though it feels so clear. Like there's a really bright line. I think most of the world, if there's 8 billion people, 7,900,999,000 would say, yes, abusing your child is wrong. But that doesn't still free you, because as long as you keep them wrong, as long as you believe they're wrong, then you have been done wrong. And so now there's an injustice in the world. And so now the world is unjust. It is not fair. And it's very hard to have faith in a God, in a universe, and to live in a friendly universe when you know in your heart it's unfair, because it was unfair to you. So the only key to unlock that is to actually say it wasn't wrong. It just was what it was.
That's right.
And that also removes this line. So we use something that we all agree on, abusing your child is wrong. But then we start moving the line. And now that we've validated right and wrong as a concept, and that we can be arbiters of right and wrong, well, now we get into the middle ground where, providing school lunch is wrong or right, and or whatever it is, right? So that's how we end up with this political divide that we're so, vehemently arguing over these right and wrong issues. And it's not healing us as a people, as a country, as a nation, as a world. So the concept of right and wrong is really the villain here.
That's right. And we see it I do see it, because I don't think people are aware of it. And we're making wrong either something that had happened, so that means you cannot do anything. It had happened.
It's done. It's over.
It's done.
Yeah.
It's over. You making it wrong, it's just making you not responsible anymore.
Yeah, right.
It's taking your power away. And we do it with cancer.
Yeah, all
right?
the time. Yeah.
How can we make something that you can't see, can't touch, wrong? How are we going to heal if we already make it wrong?
Right.
Right? Death. How come we're not afraid of it? Of course, it's wrong. So we're going to fear death. So, and that was the part in the sharing that I see was not, I wasn't healing with her. There was
Right.
no opportunity there to be touched, moved, inspired. There was opportunity of just saying, I did my work. And I did my work when I blamed somebody, and I am now in the right. But we are part of the herd. It kind of feels somebody is left.
Well,
Your
leaving,
mom is left.
You're leaving the mom or the dad or the parents or the uncle or
You know.
whoever. You're saying, hey, I'm healing, but without him.
Exactly.
He's not part of this because he was wrong.
Yes.
And we all agree. So, but that's how we end up with a society that I don't think people know that the United States is the most jailed country in the world. And the only country that was ever close was Russia, when there was a Russia,
That's
a USSR. We jail more of our population than any other country in the world. We are very punitive.
Yes.
We have a very hard edge to us as a country. We believe in right and wrong. We have these very strict guidelines of what it is, and we're very unforgiving of each other.
That's right.
And this carries through into our own psychological work and how we talk about it, to where we're listening to a podcast of somebody who's written a book and respected and being looked up to say how can you heal, and what she's doing is saying, well, he was wrong, they were wrong, they didn't take care of me, I acknowledge that, now I understand where it came from, now I can heal.
Yeah.
But never ever acknowledging that what they were going through and what it is and was it really wrong? Why do we have to make a judgment about it? And how is that serving us? That's the real question. Why do we have to judge something? And how does it serve us to judge something? Because when we judge, we cannot help but to judge ourselves. That's
Yes.
what happens.
That's right. And again, we humans, we are going to judge, but to condemn. We're not just judging, we condemned.
Right, condemning them.
It's one thing to judge is to just say, kind of, this happened, but to condemn, where you think the person now forever is never going to heal. You are the one doing the healing alone without them. If anything, introduce them back into your story in a way that will empower you. Because if it's just a story, whatever they did has either condemned you, and now you half good yourself, you a damaged good, or you thankful that you are still alive, thankful that there's a part of you that is not destroyed, and grateful to them and bringing them back into your story. I'm not saying go reconcile with the person, force them into your life, but in your story. Because what we say to ourselves either inspire us or just
Deflate us.
deflate us.
Yeah.
So it's very important that in your story, whoever you are, that your story at least is yours to inspire you to go forward.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody, maybe again I'm wrong, can go forward without her own people, always. Who are you when you telling your grandkids, your grandfather, instead of saying, was not well, you're going to say, abuse me. Mm-hmm. How is that child going to hear that?
Well, and this is what I believe really is meant by the sins of the father is visited down to the generations. It means that you're just taking, and it's that making of right and wrong. So let's back it up and look at it from a different angle. Mm-hmm. You find yourself in a position where you have trauma, right? Mm-hmm. From any stage of your life.
Which we all do.
We all do, right? And you identify that trauma and you identify the people or the environment around which that trauma occurred. You have an option. You can make it wrong and try to heal from it, or you can acknowledge that it is what it is and it contributed to wherever you are today, the person that you are, everything about who you are is a function of that in part.
You can't take it away.
And be grateful for who you are, which inherently means that it was not wrong, it just was. I'm not saying that you're making it right either. Don't get me wrong. This doesn't mean, it's not making it wrong, you're making it right. No, I'm not making it right either. I'm just making it is what it is.
It is what it is.
That's all. It just is what it is. Yeah. And when you look at things as this is what it is, without that judgment, the healing is so much easier because now you're not getting over the moral, like, how could they do that to me? We have a friend who was sexually abused by her father.
That's right.
I mean, and she has written a book about it. She has started a charity about it. She has a podcast about it, and she talks about it constantly.
Yes.
And it's part of her healing process. But there's one thing that's very clear. She is very clear that what he did to her was wrong.
Yes.
The challenge for her from this conversation's perspective is that she's never really healing. She's just continuing to live that story over and over and over again.
Yes.
Telling the story again, constantly talking about the story. She's still living in that wrongness. Mm-hmm. And when you talk to her about her father, you can see the anger and the resentment is just at the tip of her. She's
always
boiling with it. She's living in it all the time. Yeah. And so purely from the standpoint of, do you want to heal or not? If she were to try to say, well, it wasn't wrong, which would be very hard for her because she's lived in that story for so long, but that would really be the only way out of that story.
That's right.
To not make it wrong.
Yeah, and we all do that. It's so funny because those things in our life are even more energizing for most of us.
Right. Yes.
Oh yeah. Those are the things to wake us up to want to be a speaker, to write the book. So it can't be that wrong. It's almost like designed to come with life.
Yeah.
Right. I remember one day, this French man came to my house, and his whole life he had fought racism.
Right.
To the point where everywhere he goes, because that's the thing.
That was his
whatever
cause.
you fight, whatever your cause, that's what you are going to see everywhere.
Right.
So fast forward, first time in my home, never seen him ever before that day.
This is a white French guy.
This is a white French guy.
Yeah.
So he came to my house, and all he found to say is like, wow, this is your home? You live here? I said, yes. And he's like, wow, you did well for a black girl. I'm like, where is this coming from? But...
And then he went on to say, and so how have you experienced racism?
Exactly.
And your answer was?
And he was with his wife. And I said, I see you fought it so much that that's the glass you wear on. That's all you can see. You coming to my house and you can't see nothing that I am but black. But that's what it is when we made something wrong.
Right.
Right? It was wrong for him that black people were abused. So he's going around in his mind looking where a black person can be abused. So there, he couldn't see the abuse, so he was shocked. And funny enough, his wife, who again was tired of the story, they were coming just to pick up a friend of ours for 5 minutes. They end up spending the whole day. Why? Because the wife was just finally somebody who gonna talk to him, because he can't hear it that he's doing this all the time. That was the most beautiful day we had, because those things end up being the reason why we live. And it's very energizing to have something wrong. It kind of makes you get up every morning. But I think we can do it a different way.
Well, again, if we don't make it wrong and we just make it what is, it doesn't mean we don't still have the opportunity to choose to work to change it, because we're not making it right either. We're just taking the judgment out of it altogether. Yeah. And so what I like to say in my work, what I think we have kind of settled on as a better way to describe things is not right and wrong, because it comes with this big judgment around it. But is it workable or is it unworkable? Is it working for us? So the question is not, was it wrong that your father abused you? That's not the question. The question is making it wrong? Is it continuing to tell the story that it was wrong working for you?
That's right.
And
most of the time,
honestly, it's not. Clearly, it's not. You can see it. And if you really want to heal, the answer is almost certainly going to be that story is not working for me anymore, because I'm still reliving the abuse every day. I mean, I can't get out of it because I'm still making it so wrong. And that's just the trap of right and wrong.
Yes.
I personally think this is, the story of the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve. Adam eats from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. In other words, of the realization of right and wrong, right?
Yes.
So this is the fall, right? We're falling from no judgment, there is no good and evil, there is no right and wrong, to judgment now. Judgment comes into the world with the fall. That's the the parable here. And so to this day, we're still living in that world of eating of the forbidden fruit, which is now we're stuck judging everything right and wrong.
That's right.
And I can tell you, it's very hard in this world if you are have very clear right and wrongs, because you can't be friends with people that don't agree very closely with you.
Oh, absolutely.
You can't even listen to people that have a different perspective. You certainly can't reach across the aisle and figure out how to solve big problems when we are so judgmental to say, well, they're just wrong. Why would I work with them? This is what's happening in the Middle East right now. This is Israel and Palestine. There's just such a right and wrong on both sides that it's intractable. And as long as we have this right and wrong, and again, I'm not saying making anything that was done to anybody ever in any stage of their life, any group of people, any person, saying by not making it wrong, I'm making it right. No, it's not right either. It's just what it is. That's it. Right. Just looking at something and saying that is what it is. I'm not even saying that it's not okay for you to make it right and wrong. I'm just asking, is that working for you?
That's right. Is it working for us? And we tend to do that with a lot of things. Mm-hmm. I remember one of the actors, what's his name? The black actor, I forgot. Anyway, we're talking about racism all the time, and all these movies that each time you look at it, you want to just go and slap a white person or beat them, because we keep on putting it as we have to remember to be angry. We have to remember that we were wronged. Right. When are we going to move from there? Mm-hmm. Where are we going to stop? Where are we going to say it was what it was? Any sickness that human being had to go through, we did that. How are we going to heal together and move on? Right. When are we going to do that?
When the pain is great enough.
Exactly. And at the end, I'm like, how many movies like this? I am done. I personally am done. I am done having to need to feel this much anger and resentment for myself, for my people, this much fear. I don't need it. I personally don't.
Right.
You know, it's not serving me.
To be reminded and to be dramatized in, oh my God, how to well up the feeling of injustice.
Injustice.
Yeah, this is injustice. How many stories are we going to continue to tell as a people that just focus on the injustice that was done?
Exactly. You know, and I think that makes us all not heal. And like I said, like Course of Miracle was saying, it happens together.
Yeah.
We have to heal together. Because anything that's human could be you. You're just lucky that you were dealt with the card that this time you're not dealing with this one, but you're dealing with something. So it's about time we change the narrative of our stories as humans.
Yeah.
You know, as humans, recognize when something is happening that is not serving us any longer, and how we can heal from that. Mm-hmm. And just to that's why that podcast was hitting me in a way that I wasn't feeling included in the healing, because you know,
it was her healing journey in a box.
That's right.
Because she didn't include her protagonist, her father, and her mother. It just meant she was healing alone. That's right. And there's no healing alone that is complete, whole and complete. Yeah. I'm not saying you can't heal a great amount alone. You can. Yeah. You can do a lot of work without, but as long as you're still excluding the other from your healing by making them wrong, then your healing is never whole and complete. You're always holding this thing. So this idea that forgiveness is acknowledging that they were wrong and then forgiving them, that's not forgiveness, at least not according to A Course in Miracles. Yeah. Forgiveness is realizing that it never happened. In other words, that it was never right or wrong. Yeah. The action happened. Don't misinterpret. Of course it happened. The abuse happened. The divorce happened. The things in your life happened. Mm. But the wrongness of it never happened. The right and wrong, the judgment. And so it's acknowledging it just is what it is. Now I want to go to something that maybe will be easier for us to put this in perspective, because again, it's very personal. If we talk about our abuse or something that happened to us, it's very hard to get through that for some people.
That's right.
But you mentioned it already, which is death, right? Yes. We have made death wrong. And so we've made it wrong. So when people die, it's wrong. Mm-hmm. It's a great injustice. Mm-hmm. And so let's talk about that. If death is wrong, then what does that say about God? If death is wrong, unjust.
Unjust.
Because we're all going to go there. It's guaranteed, right?
That's right.
None of us have figured out how to get out of it yet. You know. So if death is wrong, which we kind of all have societally agreed that death is this terrible, terrible thing. Yes. Then God is also a punitive, punishing God that is an unjust kind of guy or girl, right? So how do you live in that world and feel like anything is okay?
For me, death is the one thing that even the balance.
Yes.
Everybody's going to go. I don't care who you are, who you think you are, how much money you have, how poor you are, we all going to die.
Yeah.
Saint, enlightened, asleep, we all going to go. So that one thing we share that equalize everybody, put us all in the same stage, we're making it wrong.
Right.
You know?
We're making it wrong.
So is sickness.
Wrong.
We're making it wrong. So is growing old. Right. We're making it wrong. Those are the things we know, if you are here, those things are going to touch you.
And taxes. We're making those wrong too. We all feel very wrong by the taxes.
Taxes, we're making it wrong. I'm like, the one thing that you can participate for the people that need, we're going to make it wrong. So we are just people that see the wrong in everything.
Yeah.
You know, and
it's the human condition. That's the fall from grace is this right and wrong judgment that we now have the
Exactly.
power to do on everything, but it's a power that flips right around and cuts you first.
Yeah. You're the first one to be online to suffer,
Yeah,
because those things can create pain, but not suffering.
right.
The suffering is your choice.
Yeah,
Our choice.
pain happens.
Yeah.
Suffering is how if you make it wrong, you
Exactly.
suffer.
If you make it wrong, you suffer. So I guess that's our intake about that podcast, about at least, making something wrong. And again, I'm going to take this time to talk about the mother-daughter issues. That one I didn't realize how much I was hitting a nerve there, and it's a big one. Your mom, doesn't matter who you think she is or should be, could have, would have, is a human being, and sometimes you're taking over without knowing what that person is going through. As a person, not as your mom. Just a human being going through hell by themselves. And maybe if you don't make it wrong, there is still room for you to heal with her. And that is the true healing.
Yeah.
The true healing is not you saying, I condemned her, she left me, now I can show love to my kids, and that's about it. Well, like Sadhguru would say, there is not more ungrateful than kids.
The kids.
Don't bet on your kids. They're going to leave you too. So anyway, just again, be nice, be kind. Take the time to look. Was it really wrong? How do you know it wasn't? You're still here with everybody doing the same work we're all doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and I mean, just look at it from this perspective. Is it working for you to make everything wrong? Death wrong. Let's say somebody in your family died too young. Let's say, your childhood trauma, your abuse. Let's say your own personal divorce. Let's say your estrangement with your children. If you make all that wrong, how is that working? How has that allowed you to heal? How do you move forward in that space of all this is wrong? Versus it happened. It's not what I preferred. It's not what I wanted, but it happened. And now what do I do? Where do I move from here? And if you decide I'm just going to move from here, not making it right or wrong, just move, all of a sudden the doors of possibility open in a different way. You've unlocked an entire new hallway of doors because your wrongness has shut the door of possibility that actually it served you, that abuse, that estrangement, that it served you in some way, shape, or form. And if you see this world as not, look, it's all for my comfort and everything should go my way and all should be things, instead saying, no, I'm seeing it as a classroom in which I'm here to get something.
That's right.
And sometimes that lesson hurts. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes, the clay pot is put into the fire to harden. And that's a different perspective. And, again, I'm not going to ever diminish anyone's suffering and trauma and what happened to them. It's real. It's so real. But is it serving you to keep it as wrong? That's the question. And I think the answer is, for me, certainly, it was not serving me to make things wrong. It was not serving me to take all these things in my life and judge them as wrong because I couldn't move on.
No.
I couldn't forgive. I couldn't see even the people that I had judged as being worthy of forgiveness.
That's right.
And then I'm forgiving for who? For me? Doesn't even make sense. The whole thing backfires into a loop that just doesn't resolve itself. So for me, for us, I believe that this idea of getting rid of this concept of right and wrong has empowered us massively
Greatly.
to move forward in the world. And then when things happen, it's not about right and wrong. It's about workable, unworkable. It's about, what do I want it? What do I want for my life? Where do I want to move to? How do I want to be? And I see it with the people. We're so fortunate to have so many people that are in our lives that trust us and talk with us, from our clients to our friends, and to now everybody here on this podcast that's listening. And we're seeing, and it's very consistent. It's very consistent that those who really drop this concept of right and wrong, drop the judgment, just move faster, move higher, move further than keeping it.
Well, this is the thing. It's just, is it worth it for you, right? I know there is a point of your life that you realize you have the control, you have the power of who you want to be and how you want to feel. And I just have no interest having my body tighten up, being acidic, just because I believe somebody had wronged me. I see that by me thinking that, I might suffer even more than the person.
Oh, always.
Yeah.
So
if I don't make it wrong, and I say it is what it is, and if that person is worth for me bringing it back into my life, and we talk about it, and we forgive each other, and we move on, then that's what I would choose. Because again, it's not worth it for me to be in an acidic environment wherever I have a thought of that person, because it's the thoughts. It's the thought. They can be dead. They're not dead to you because they are there. How do you know? Wherever you get an opportunity or a chance to connect with anybody, they're the first one to come into your mind. Your predators. And it was funny that this person was doing this work. Why? Because she had to. She's like, if I don't do this, I can't be married ever and happy, because that thought is always there. I had to heal myself to have a relationship with my husband. But what she didn't share is her healing alone and still making it wrong. There is still work to do.
Yeah.
There is still work to do. So take this, look at it in your life where just the thought of somebody makes you sweat and want to kill. Then you know the work is right there for you.
Yeah.
That means you are making whatever happened wrong. And as long as it's wrong, they have the power, not you. And like I said, you inviting them back into your life and not making whatever they did wrong will give you peace, will give you back the control of your life. When do you know you heal? When you can even tell the story without blaming them for what happened. You just knew they were not okay and they did something that wasn't okay, but it's not about them. You don't condemn them. You don't condemn who they are. Because I believe if there is a God and he trusts enough to create them as much as he created you and I, then they have a space here. Who are we to remove them from life, to remove them from existence? You can't do it. It's not up to you or me. So that's my intake. I hope you take that to heal yourself, but not only that, to heal all of us.
Yeah. So just remember, resentment is the poison that you drink, hoping the other person gets sick. And it does. It burns you first. And that's, resentment comes from a judgment of right and wrong, a judgment of wrong. Right?
That's right.
They did it wrong. I resent the injustice. So if you feel injustice in your life, if you feel like things are unfair, then you know that you have judged things as wrong. And now you're living in the environment, in your body, in your thoughts,
Exactly.
in everything that you create around you.
That's
You're
right.
living in that.
Yeah.
And so, is it working for you? If it is, keep it. If it's not, maybe you want to consider looking at it differently. And that's what this is about. That's what this show is about.
Yeah.
I thought this was a great topic when we heard it, because it took us about 30 minutes in the car when we were listening to this to sort it out, because that's just how we process.
Yeah.
But we always end up realizing we're always talking about the same thing. We just use different language.
Yeah. Me and my not political,
Politically incorrect self.
self.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes even my husband time to get me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So,
All right.
So, well, thank you again for joining us with Always with Awareness. And comment, please, about this. Like it, share. We do value when you guys grow and share what we're doing, and let us know how you feel about it.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. And we'll see you next time.
See you. Thank you, hon.